But I don't even know if people would find street punk if it wasn't for Dookie, is what I'm saying, though. Whether you like it or not, like we're talking about, Duke is the most important punk album, also I think of all time too, at least, or of the last 20 years for sure, or whatever 30 years, because like there might not be punk rock existing in the way that it does, and the way that it was spread after that, if it doesn't happen. So like, it's so.
But I have a response to a reply to that. That just depends on what you find important, because I don't care if punk exists the way it does today. It doesn't matter to me. That just means, are you saying that punk it's the most important because punk wouldn't be as big as it is? Because I don't care about that. That doesn't matter to me. I listen to mostly bands that aren't big anyways.
Because I would have never found it if Dookie didn't exist. That's my point.
Okay, you would have never found it, but I definitely would. So like, it just depends on where you sit.
But if punk would have just stayed the way it was forever in the 80s, like that's fine. But like, I mean, I guess
my only point is that it depends on what you think of as important, because I know people that will agree with me and say that's not important. Like to you, it's important because you came around at a different place. Like you were there for a different thing. We're a different age, so we had different things that got us into it.
But I don't even know if people would find street punk if it wasn't for Dookie, is what I'm saying, though.
I wholeheartally disagree with that.
I just think it would have just died. It could have just died. Like it could have just died as a whole.
Well, you're saying could have, but I'm saying would it have? Like it's the same. It's the same remark. Would it have? I don't. It could have. Sure, it could have. It could still die from this point, but I don't think that it would have, because I don't have any evidence that it would have. Punk wasn't dead in the 80s. It just wasn't popular in the 80s. Punk was never dead. Like punk always existed. Those bands always toured. They always had shows. They always sold out shows. I mean, Operation Ivy could have come and went without Green Day ever doing their thing, and Operation Ivy still would have formed Rancid. The Offspring still would have existed. Now, would they have gotten as big as they did? I don't know. Probably not. Does that matter? Not to me. See my point?
Yeah, but then I think you never find Rancid. If Dookie didn't exist, you would have never found Rancid. Like seriously, you found Rancid in the mid '90s. Like they're never.
I don't agree with that.
Like you don't think like we have a situation where
I think it would have been a different timeline, but I would have found them. Absolutely, I would have absolutely found it. I wholeheartedly, 1,000,000% agree that nothing on this planet would have prevented me from being who I am right now. This is who I am. This is what I do. So I don't think any amount of no Green Day or more Green Day would have changed that. Not that it wasn't important and made it easier. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it wasn't important at all. I'm just saying that if it didn't exist, I don't think that would have been some kind of cataclysmic, oh no, punk's never been. I mean, No Effects would have been around. Bad Religion would have been around. Operation Ivy, like all these bands that I still love, would have been around anyways.
But so, when you like read interviews with any one of those bands, they all acknowledge the reason why they have a career now is because Dookie came out. Sure,
something else would have happened, dude. I'm not gonna concede that because Green Day exists is the only reason that those bands were able to make it. That's stupid. Like, because there would have been another band. It may not have been as big, but there would have been other bands, because I was into skateboarding already too. Skateboarding is where I got into punk rock like that. Like it, yeah, I would have found it. And, am I saying I would have been on the exact same path? No, because you can't change something like that and have it be the same. Of course not. But I'm just saying that it wouldn't have died because it didn't die. Like you're saying that punk would have just fizzled out. And I just think like
there's a strong possibility that punk just wouldn't like really be existed as a thing that.
Well, it depends on what your definition of punk is, because my definition of punk is different than yours, I think, because I don't think of, I don't measure it by that. There's punk, when punk existed, the first time it happened, it was never, ever, ever going to be a point in time where nobody on the planet was doing that. And to me,
but when something gets stadiums, when something gets so, no, I'm not saying you do, but when something gets so niche, it will stop spreading though.
Not with the internet, buddy. No, sorry. If the only way that what you're saying could have happened is if the internet didn't exist, and I guess Green Day could be responsible.
Green Day created the internet. Them and Al Gore, they went to the bunker. They created it.
Dude, how funny would it be if that was something that you could actually show me? I could go, damn, all right, because that would blow my mind. No, and I mean, look, dude.
There's like footage of Gilman Street of like.
Look, let me close this chapter of this video out with saying this. I acknowledge that they are probably the most important band in punk rock. I just refuse to acknowledge that they were like the reason that it stayed it would exist anyways. Bands would have gotten big. Bands were getting fairly big without them. I don't think for a second that the Warped Tour wouldn't have happened without Green Day. I don't think that for a split second. Skateboarding itself was getting too big, and if the Warped Tour existed, then these bands would have gotten big. Now, to the degree that they got, probably not, but they would have gotten big.
The feeding, though, that's what I say. Like, what is the desire then for like a Warped Tour without a Green Day? Like, that's, and again, because
the Warped Tour wasn't about pop punk. The Warped Tour was about extreme sports and punk rock and roll. It wasn't about pop punk,
right?
I don't look at
but I still think like they caused this big bang that made everything kind of popular that trickled down. It just had such a trickle effect.
I'm not going to give Green Day that much credit. I'm just not going to, because I don't think they deserve it. So not that much credit. They deserve a lot of credit, not that much, because that stuff was happening before Green Day was popular. Before Green Day existed, this stuff existed. So there's no reason for me to believe that it would have not existed.
People with wallets weren't pouring nowhere near as much money into it until Green Day existed.
That doesn't matter. That's my whole point. I know that.
That helps a lot.
I didn't say it didn't. Dude, I'm not arguing that doesn't help. I'm not arguing that it does a lot for the community. But I am saying that that's not what matters to most people that are in my specific position. Now, other people's positions, I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that. But my personal opinion is that shit doesn't matter that much. Look at all the stuff that I do that I don't make a stinking penny for, right? Mm-hmm. I don't make any money. Now, if I make some money, would I be happy? Of course. But would I stop doing it if I didn't make money? I can show you proof positive that I wouldn't. That's my point. Is that there's going to be somebody carrying this torch no matter what happened. Now, I don't want to start shitting on Green Day, so let's move on. Because I love Green Day, bro. Like, this band's great. And going back into these records, this was a lot of fun, man. I had a lot of fun listening to these albums.